Hello and welcome to a brand new Let's Play run game thing. I'm starting from scratch. I'm doing it. I've got that last Let's Play which I haven't finished, and I am kind of leaving it behind a little bit reluctantly. There's a lot of footage that I'm kind of leaving on the table that's just not going to get used. I had some big plans, but the fundamental fact is that I tried out some things in that run. And some of it worked well. Some of it turned out much bigger than I anticipated. And so I kind of left in a situation where if I go back to it, I've got to kind of deal with the mess that I've built. I really just want to start from new. And the thing is, this is the third attempt now, the third run that I've tried in Space Age. The first one was really just throw me in the deep end, see what happens. Learn, just figure it out. The second attempt, the one that I'm leaving behind, was quality, really. That's what I went into it. I wanted to try out quality. I wanted to see if I can come up with some mechanisms for using it. And the thing is, now I know what it needs. I know what it takes to do quality properly, and I want to do it properly. I don't want any kind of relics of past attempts just hampering me. I want nice, clean factories. So the plan is that we're going to do quality everywhere. Everywhere. Fulgora and Vulcanus, I think I can do. Gleba is a question mark. Akilo, I've got no idea. We're going to do it everywhere. We're just going to see what happens. And then maybe at some point we'll set some ambitious target to do at the end. I don't know. At the moment, I've got, there's so many planets, so many things to build before we can even start thinking about end game. But whatever it is, it's going to be big. Whatever it is, I don't know. We'll see. Now, before we get started, this is the mod list that I'm using on this run. Then I might add a few as we go. I don't know how it's going to pan out. I've tried to trim it back a little bit. Nothing too egregious, I hope. Okay, so let's get going. We've got a lot to do. All right, we've reached a really nice moment now, and that moment is the moment where I can stop handcrafting everything. I mean, everything so far that you can see has been handcrafted. Just me sat around waiting for this queue to stop. I could probably stop this queue now, to be honest. You know, when I start a game like this, when I start a brand new game, when the handcrafting queue stops, alarm bells start ringing in my head, and I start worrying about getting a whole lot of new stuff handcrafted. I can't stand building anything like super temporary. I just can't stand it. I'd much rather do something like this, I suppose. I don't know. Anyway, I mean, this is essentially the starter factory now. You know, it's not really a starter factory in the sense of what we're used to seeing in Factorio, but it's, you know, in Space Age, it's so much bigger that does it not justify or warrant a slightly bigger, more serious starter factory? You know, in my mind, I've got images of beautiful factories, you know, just churning out quality, churning out stuff, just great little factories in my mind. But they're not, I can't conjure them into reality until we've done the planets. You know, we got to go all the planets. We got to get EM plants. We got to get recyclers. We got to get foundries. We've got to get cliff explosives. You know, stack inserters, Gleba. Yeah, let's not forget about Gleba. That's not an insignificant thing to forget about. You know, and you know, at this stage of the game, I don't really feel like any of this is really permanent. This is just, you know, in all fairness, this is a factory I've built many times. Not beat for beat, not tile for tile, but, you know, the general setup, the general, you know, idea, the general throughput, the general structure of things. I've built this factory many times by this point. I'm just going through the motions because I want to get to space. I want to get to all the planets. I want to get all of the things so that I can come back here and replace this thing with something more. You know, replace it with the thing that's with the picture that's in my head, and not just a thing that I've built many times before. That's, you know. Anyway, we're going to crack on because there's not really much to talk about at this moment. I'm going to fill up this factory with things. It's going to start producing things. We're going to build some more mall-related items. We're going to, you know, generally finish off this factory like we would in any other Factorio playthrough. You know, we're going to need low density structure. We need engines. We need electric engines. We need modules. We need things like rails and trains and cargo wagons and, you know, all of that lovely stuff we got to build. We got to make it, and that's what we're doing. We've done this before. I just want to get to the freaking interesting part. You know, the new stuff. I think when I started off this playthrough, I was like, oh, I'll just get to the planets and I'll unlock the juicy new buildings and it'll all be fun. And we're kind of stuck in a stasis where we just need to run through the same beats we've done many times to get to the fun stuff. Anyway, let's crack on. Let's not waste time. Lots to do. have a base. I'm in that moment in Factorio where the fun is just there. It's just in reach. I can just feel it. I can touch it. I'm getting there. I'm not, you know, I'm close. We have a base, and it's doing the thing that it's designed to do, you know. It's churning out the things. I mean, iron is a perennial problem. I don't have enough iron ore coming in. I mean, I've been working on the perimeter wall. This is one of the things that has been happening kind of behind the scenes, gradually increasing the size of my wall because, you know, we're creating a lot of pollution, noise, whatever, and it's attracting some attention. But iron ore, we don't really have much here. We got a couple of nice juicy parts here, and you know, and outside the perimeter wall, there's a dusting of it, real nice dusting of it when I grow some balls and want to take on some biters. But for the moment, we don't really have very much. So I'm kind of, you know, big mining drills in Vulcanus, they're not far away. I really, you know, this only really needs to get us to the next point. So if this is what it can give us, then I suppose let's hope that this is enough. I don't know. Anyway, in terms of a tour, let's give you a rundown of where we are. So we got like all of the smelting stuff. I've doubled what I built here in the time lapse. You know, we originally started here with iron, copper, steel, and the blocks, and I've added on another block for copper and another block for the iron. Just kind of left steel the way that it is. That's taken enough of the iron as it is. Then, you know, we need some iron in the rest of the factory. Circuit boards. This is all running now. Nice, all good. Green, red, blues, simples. You know, we've got them all. That's all now finished. It's producing all of the things. I don't think there's anything else I need to make in here. This is making all of the stuff. Yep, standard ball. I'd make this ball many, many times. Rocket silos and science. Now, when I last spoke on the mic, I had the standard design in my head, and that standard design is standardized, and this is not the standardized design. Like, when I spoke on the mic last time, the shadow of the map was like here. And so I could see this portion of land, and I just assumed that it carried on, and then I ran over here, and then a lake appeared. So the original plan was to carry on. So we got them all up here. I would normally build like oil here and here, like a big oil setup above and below the bus, and then I'd do nuclear here and here, and rocket silos would be in here, and then science would be down here. But then I uncovered this and kind of changed my plan a little bit. So rocket silos and science is now up here, and I've kind of brought this bit that was going to be over here down here. I don't know. It doesn't really make it. It's just a starter factory. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And I'm not doing any paths or walls yet, I suppose is the pertinent word in this. I want my paths. I'm in deep thought about how I'm going to accommodate my paths, because I really quite want to use this run to pursue like other kinds of factory geometry. You know, the paths and the grid is nice. It makes a very nice, elegant factory, but it restricts me in what I can and can't do, and it forces me into those blocks. And it restricts the amount of creativity. So I quite want to try out different shapes and factories for this run and try something a bit different. So walls and paths, they're probably going to come up at some point. I would imagine they will do. Not for this, though. Not yet. Now, future plans, because I suppose this is where the nitty meets the gritty, to be honest. What are my future plans? Like, end game, I'll be completely honest, at this moment in time, end game, I don't really have a fixed plan. I would really like to take on some heinous, ridiculous SPM number. That would be nice. You know, I would really, really like to get my spreadsheet sorted. And to be honest, I think I'm probably going to need to get my spreadsheet sorted if I'm going to do some sort of SPM. You know, I need some means of which by ratioing these planets now. You know, we've got, 5 planets, each are going to be producing various sciences. How do we make sure that the size of the factory on Vulcanus is the same, you know, produces the same amount of science as the size of the factory on Fulgora and Aquilo and Galipa? You know, how do we do that without some spreadsheet? So I need, you know, in my mind, it doesn't necessarily need to be perfect. It just needs to be, you know, in the rough kind of ballpark. But, you know, I also know in my mind that in order to aim for a rough kind of a ballpark, you got to be freaking accurate. You got to be accurate right to the end stage. And then when you get the number at the end, that's the moment where you can fudge it. Only once you've done everything in the minutest and finest of details can you then go back and say, okay, this is where I can kind of fudge it and squeeze it and whatever. So ultimate plan at the end stage, don't know yet. That's kind of to be determined. Up till then, we are going to be doing just quality everywhere. I think that's where I've got to. In my mind, you know, Fulgora and Vulcanus qualities are a must, I feel. I feel like the minerals and the resources that we can get from those planets are so abundant, so useful, that it makes sense to do quality there, obviously. Gleba, I need to do quality on Gleba because the spoilage time on the science is going to be restrictive. In the last few runs I've been able to get, say we start off with 100% spoilage on Gleba and then we import it to Novice, I've been able to get 40 to 50% once it reaches a research unit. That's like half an hour it takes to get from A to B. If we can up that with some quality, then we get a little bit... I feel like that needs to be looked at. A kilo... I mean... The thing is about a kilo is it's a horrible planet. But the other thing is that the recipes and the research are simple. So... Quality seems on the surface to be horrible, and it probably will be horrible, but you know the research is relatively straightforward, and we're not going to be making anything on a kilo. It's not going to have a mall. It's only got to churn out the science. So it comes with its pluses and minuses, a kilo. I mean, the one planet that really kind of vexes me is this one, is Novice. Is, you know, what is the final purpose of Novice? Like, what are we going to be doing here long term? I tell you what, let me pull up my spreadsheet where it stands at the moment, because this kind of gives me an opportunity to explain where my thought process is. Hold on a sec, where are we? Okay. I mean, this is the only real part that's actually going to be useful in this entire spreadsheet at the moment. That's actually kind of got finished, which is the Fulgora stuff. This is not what I wanted to talk about. I want to go into here. So this is kind of my idea for how to set up a spreadsheet for Space Age. So the idea is that we set the general target up here. We have these values, and these values are all 0 at the moment. I suppose we've got 0.5. Now the idea is, let's just say that we wanted to do all of this 60 science, all red science is done on Novice, so we just put a 1 in here. That means that 60 science is all going to be done on Novice. That will input the values into the Novice spreadsheet. Like at the bottom here, we've got a whole load of spreadsheets, and as I develop this, each planet is going to have its own dedicated spreadsheet. It's entirely possible that each science might get its own dedicated spreadsheet as well, because once we start drilling down into these, they're going to get quite complicated. But the idea of the spreadsheet is that if we just say we wanted to do half of that red science on Novice, 0.5, and half of it on Vulcanus, and we put half in each of these. Okay, so this is how we would set it up. How we'll tell the spreadsheet where we are doing the science. But where do we do the science? It actually is probably quite easy to think about the red and the green, because red and the green, it's just iron and copper. So we should be doing these on Vulcanus, I think. That's what makes sense to me. Military science, you've got coal. Coal is rare on Vulcanus. It's something we need to kind of stretch a little bit. We could do military science on Vulcanus. We could also do military science on Novice. Don't know. Let's put a 0.5 in here and a 0.5 in here. Chemical science. What's that? Sulfur, red circuit boards, and engines. Sulfur, red circuit boards. I mean, we could make a compelling case for a couple of places here, to be honest. We could probably go Novice. We could probably go Vulcanus, and we could probably go Fulgora, to be honest. That might be not a terrible ways to go. Don't know. But this is what I mean. Like, just the worst possible moment. Yeah, this is what I mean. Like, where do we do the science? is I can build a spreadsheet that can calculate all of the things. And you know what? Maybe that will help in this endeavor. You know, maybe, you know, once I develop all of the planets and all of the sciences and everything else, an answer will, I can use that tool to ask it questions and go, is it better to do this stuff in certain places? But it's not, you know, it doesn't account for the infiniteness of iron and copper on Vulcanus. There's still going to be a decision. It's still going to be me sat here going, where do I think it's best to do the science? I don't know what the answer is. So we got an idea here. This is going to have to be developed. All of these numbers up here scare me because, you know, you can change one of these numbers and it will change everything in the whole damn spreadsheet. You know, you research one piece of tech, it changes what we need to do. And with infinite research, what numbers do we actually aim for in these boxes? You know, on Fulgora, if we research the infinite tech too far, we will break our factory. Like there's a fundamental limit to Fulgora, is how much scrap it can process per second. If we start researching tech so that it starts spitting out more scrap, it's just going to jam. Like, all of this is very sensitive. But all this stuff, all of it, is for another day, you know. What we need to do right now is build a spaceship for science. We need to build a spaceship for transport. And then we need to go to a planet. Now, my last run, I did Fulgora first. And that was mainly because of the mech armor. Like, I wanted the mech armor. I didn't want to mess around. That was a key thing for me. But for this run, I'm going to Vulcanus first. And the key tech, probably obvious, is cliff explosives. I want to go to... I've got big plans for Fulgora. I want to go there with a fresh... you know, I don't want to be able to land on an island and be hampered by cliffs with this factory that I've got in my head. So, I'm going to Vulcanus first. We are going to upgrade... No, we're going to research cliff explosives, and then we're going to use that to go and do Fulgora. But I'm not just going to build a base on Vulcanus that only does cliff explosives. You know, if we're going there, we're going to do it properly. So, we're going to set things up. The plan is probably we're going to go to Vulcanus, we're going to build a little factory that churns out the science and rockets and cliff explosives. We're going to go to Fulgora, we're going to build this big factory that I've got in my head. We're probably then going to go back to Vulcanus and build the quality factory. And then at that moment, we'll have a conversation about what we're doing. Because novice, you know, do I do quality on novice? You know, the idea of quality is to perpetually scrap a lot of the stuff that we make. And everything on novice is got from the ground. So if I start perpetually scrapping stuff, we're going to end up in a situation where we start depleting a lot of the resources that we have here. So I mean, this is still the ultimate question for me. I mean, in terms of design, it's actually pretty obvious what I would do. I would just knock down all of this iron, steel, copper blocks and circuit boards and just build a new factory down here, which outputted to this bus and fed this mall. It's actually really, really simple the way that this is built. I could just lob this whole chunk off of the factory and replace it with something better. But that key question, you know, is that what we want to do? Is that are we in the position now where we're going to be perpetually scrapping stuff on novice? Is that... So many unknowns. So many unknowns. I'll tell you what, let's just deal with the knowns. Rocket silos and spaceships. Let's do it. All right, so the fun is here. Definitely, I am fully in fun mode now. I can't put the game down. This is where we were leading to. You know, if it feels like I'm rushing, I mean, that's absolutely 100% true, because it's to build these kind of factories that I'm here. That's what I'm here to do. So anything that's not permanent, that's not one of these factories, it feels like just wasted time for me. So I'm glad that we're here. Now, there are some consequences for my rushed approach. The first one of that is that all of these montages, they're all very long because I'm trying to get to the good parts. The second part of that rushing is that Novice is kind of struggling. I mean, not production-wise, it's okay. Production-wise, it's okay. It can launch rockets or it can do science, not both at the same time. So if I need some supplies, then I need to turn off science, which is like where we are right now. If I don't need any supplies, then we can turn the science back on. It can kind of do one or the other. But where it's struggling is around the perimeter wall. I've already had to make one trip back here. I've got a rocket silo down here. I've already had to make one trip back to Novice to deal with perimeter wall problems. And now I think I've got more of them. This one, it beeps at me occasionally. But I don't think they're not really attacking in big numbers. And this is probably several hours worth of depletion to my wall. So I can probably tolerate this. You probably saw it just a moment ago. This part over here, not so much. This is taking a beating. I probably need to come back here at some point. You know, the way that I overbuild these perimeter walls specifically so that we can absorb these sorts of losses over a long period of time. You know, I see a fair amount of this perimeter wall as just time that I can be away from Novice without having to rush back. That's good timing. So I've probably got a little bit more time here, you know, in terms of, but they've probably got to this. I will start worrying when they get to this, I think. I don't know. It's on my mind. I'll probably have to come back here at some point. The issue is really that it's caused because of this ginormous cloud on this kind of spigot of land, which would be nice to own, but it's going to take a lot of work, and there's a lot of cliffs here, and that's just a lot of opportunity for me to blow myself up. So I'd really like to wait for the spiders. I mean, that is quite a long way off. I don't know. We'll see. This is going to develop. Maybe I'll have to rush back here at some point and fix the wall at the very least. Take over some land, maybe. Thing is, you know, you can't. I need to take all of this, and there's no point taking all of this unless you're going to take all of this. I don't know. Tomorrow's problem. The thing I want to talk about is this. So this is the start of the quality. Quality, I'm baking it in right from the ground in this factory. Everything in here eventually is going to be put towards quality. You know, we're going to have a mall, and that mall's going to use a certain amount of these things, and we're going to have science, and that's going to use a certain amount of these. And we're going to have some rocket silos, and that's going to use a certain amount of the resources that we build, not necessarily right here, but in other parts that we're going to come to. But ultimately, whenever that grinds to a halt, we want everything in this factory to be pushed towards quality. Absolutely everything. You know, we don't want this factory sat around doing nothing at any moment. We want it to be pushing quality every second of every hour. So that's what we're doing. Every step we're going to fill with quality here. I mean, to be honest, this first step is probably the most tenuous. Stone. I did an experiment in my last playthrough with stone. What happens if we try and utilize all of it? And the experiment said, don't bother, it's pointless, it's too much. So I've embraced that. We're going to try and use a lot of it. I'm going to use a significant portion of that stone, but I'm going to have to moderate what quality I put in here to kind of match the quality stone that I need. You know, ultimately, quality stone only really goes to one place, and that's heating towers. We need stone furnaces. Stone furnaces go into boilers. Boilers go into the heating furnace, along with heat pipes. And the reason why I know that is because I've done it with quality sushi before, and I know it's the most difficult recipe. So I want to do it because the heating towers, the quality heating towers are excellent. They're so useful later in the game. It's just a horrible recipe. So that's in my mind. I know. I've built this factory a couple of times, and stone has always been one of the things I've always had too much of. So I've got that in my mind. We don't need too much. We just need a little bit. We're obviously going to send a certain amount of quality stone to stone blocks. I call them stone blocks. I think they're called actually stone bricks. Yeah, we're going to send a certain amount of the quality, but we're not going to be able to use all of it, no matter what we build. So I'm going to moderate the quality in this particular section. We've got, these are the stone bricks that we are going to use. And then whatever we don't use, these belts here are going to be sent on a journey to this giant lava lake. Handily placed once, well, maybe once I have cliff explosives, but probably before then, to be honest, because I'll need it before then. At every stage, we are taking away the quality. So this belt here and this belt here, the two outside belts, this is the quality stone blocks. Same again here, this outside one and this one here, that's for quality stone. This is for calcite was going in, but I was just confused, belt was going the wrong way, but it's for calcite. Those two metal belts for calcite. And then we got steel doing exactly the same thing. We are taking away the quality, putting it on a belt, sending it to our quality factory. And then iron plate as well. Now, one of those other things that we need to do on this quality journey is upcycle this iron plate and steel. You know, we're going to be largely producing 1 dots. We don't want the 1 dot. We want something better. So in order to turn it into something better, we turn it into boxes and then we scrap those boxes. Now, in every other factory I've built on Vulcanus, and on Fulgora to a certain extent, I've done this kind of differently. You know, I've set up the production for the iron and the steel, and then I've built them all, and then at some point in the middle, I've built a place where I can overflow all of the material that the factory doesn't need at that moment in time, and upcycle it at that other tenuous portion of the factory, and it always turns into a mess because it's a collection of processes all mangled together. We're scrapping this, we're scrapping that, we're trying to put the products back together again. Some of the products we have too much of, so we have to scrap them. It just becomes a complete nightmare. So the new philosophy is to scrap it on site right here. I think this is an excellent idea. You know, what we were essentially doing is giving the base all of the belt from here all the way to the mall as buffer, and then anything that overflows from that we scrap. You know, in the old system where I was doing this bundle of messy scrapping in one place, it generally tended to be quite close to the mall. And so all of the conveyor belt that led from here to the scrapping, that was just continually moving, and the buffer, the amount of belt that went from there to the mall itself, was quite short, and I wasn't really buffering enough material. So I feel like this addresses two problems. You know, we've made it a lot neater. We got the steel boxes, and we've got iron boxes, and we've got walls all scrapping ready to go in the place where we're making it. So I don't have to worry about it. I think this is the way to go. I think this is just such an excellent design principle. It's going to make things so much cleaner. Oh, and I tell you what, these display panels, I am loving the display panels. These things are so good. You know, I used to make lists of these things in my book. You know, the orders of what they were, so I could come back, and it was always a pain. It's always a nightmare because I'd have to come and I'd have to check is the 4th belt in from the right, or the 2nd belt in from the left, or the blah blah blah. Now I just put it in a display panel and it's here. These things are freaking excellent. I am using them everywhere. They are brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Just an excellent addition. It just saves me so much work. Now, what we're going to do now is we're just going to carry on. We've got a whole load of other things we need to produce here. You know, we've got copper plate, low density structure, green, red, blue circuit boards, rocket fuel, you know, oil and lube and coal in general. I'm pretty sure this is hard coded into the game at this point. But every time I've started a new map on Vulcanus, I've started on a nice flat area, and right in the middle of that flat area is a ginormous patch of not very dense coal. So it mines very, very quickly, but it occupies this ginormous space in the middle, which you have to build around. I've had a couple of thought processes with regards to this. I've thought about ignoring it entirely. I've thought about building the oil refineries directly on it and then demolishing half, mining that half of the coal, and then when that depletes, swapping them round. So I'd put the oil refinery on the empty portion and mine the portion. I think what I'm actually going to do is put some trains in here when this depletes, so that will deliver the coal into the same place, which, you know, I'm probably going to need to build some oil stuff in here. So if I bring some trains in, it kind of replaces the same utility that the coal patch was providing me. I think that's kind of an elegant solution. Don't quite know what's going to happen with the rest of the train tracks. I mean, to be honest, I don't really know where any of this material is going to be coming from. I have had a little explore. You saw me defeat a few worms. I'm going to need a bit more space, to be honest, but I think this is enough for my purposes. I as I said, I've built this factory a couple of times now, and it's got a very kind of fixed dimension. You know, in order to make it work, it kind of needs to fit within certain things need to line up. You know, it's kind of my factory. So there's a bus, and then outside the bus there's factory units, and then outside those factory units there's lines of scrap. So stuff that we throw on there that we've accrued, like from scrapping other things. And that space is about 140 tiles, and I have kind of, where have I got it here? This is my left-hand lane, this is my middle, this is 140 from here, and then this is 140 from here. So I think I can get it in here quite nicely. The reason why I need two is because it's got to kind of come round and back again. Now, this might seem elegant. You know, the bus is going to come out, it's going to horseshoe its way around and come back in again. Maybe even do something really horrible and have to come around here depending on how many things I want to make. The reasons for this will come into play. This is still a ways off at the moment. We got all this production to make. Yeah, let's just crack on. Let's just crack on. I feel like I need to pull up a video of like a villain slowly leaning into the camera, like gleefully grinning or something, because I just, this is what I've built here. It's just so freaking exciting to me. It's just there's so much potential here that future-wise, is just going to be perfect for my purposes. Let's give you a quick rundown, or at least of the most important parts anyway. So, the first thing that I want to talk about is plastic. In the other quality factories I've built, plastic has been a problem. I never really produced enough of it. I always wanted more quality plastic than I was making. And the solution that I feel like it's actually quite ingenious, to be honest, is to put quality in the mining drills mining the coal, and then use the quality from that to generate better quality plastic. Now, the reason why I like it is because we are using an enormous amount of normal 1-dot coal to generate the oil. So we can cream off all of the quality that's, we're not just creaming off the top of the quality of the coal that we produce just for plastic. We're also creaming it off of all of the coal that we're making for the coal liquefaction as well. And there's a significant amount there. I've done some quick numbers. I think we're producing we require about 3 times more coal for coal liquefaction than we do for plastic. So all of that coal, we can use the quality stuff that we generated producing the coal that we use over here and put it into plastic. I mean, the potential for plastic in here is huge now, I feel. This has the real potential to be a game changer for plastic. I haven't tried this before. This is a new thing, but I think this could be excellent. Now, we could also do something similar for the tungsten triangles. Tungsten, it's not it's not been a problem for the quality when I've done it before, but equally, the more of it we make, the more furnaces and big mining drills we make. So it is another prime candidate for using this same mentality, to use the quality coal because it comes from the carbon. The problem is that the quality chains don't line up. Like, there's an extra step in producing the carbon than there is the tungsten. So if we try and marry these two up in the same process, we're inevitably going to have more quality carbon than the tungsten ore. So there is the potential here to do it. I haven't taken that potential. I'm once again using the quality that we generate, the quality coal that we generate from here, and putting it into plastic. But future-wise, I suppose that's another option. Don't know yet. Anyway, plastic, I feel like that's a good solution. I feel like that's going to potentially could actually produce quite a lot of quality plastic. Now, as we move across into the mall, we have just basically got a whole load of standard stuff here. All of the standard suite of things that we would normally need. Now, I could put some quality modules in some of these processes and generate a few quality things. I don't really like that. Particularly, I've got this huge plan for a huge quality factory, so I'm just doing 1-dot. I'm not putting quality in here. This is just to give me a suite of things that I can use to build a factory with. As we move away across, we start getting to the important ingredients that particularly when we talk about quality. So, concrete, refined concrete. Concrete, what was the concrete goes into that's important? Heating towers. Blimmin' heating towers. So if we want good quality heating towers, and we need good quality concrete, and the refined concrete, that goes into the foundries, and it goes into a couple of other places, but not on this planet. So it's really just for the foundries. But we're going to need a lot of those foundries, so we're going to need a lot of refined concrete. Now, I've done the same as what I did over in the iron and the steel, in that we are recycling it and upcycling it here on site. I'm not kind of taking it into the bus and then kind of having a whole scrappage, messy area. I'm doing it here where it's needed. So hopefully any output that we get from this will just input back into the system. In fact, that's not what I'm doing here. I'm just scrapping it. We turn it into hazard concrete, scrap it, good stuff comes out, that goes off to our quality factory, one dot comes back in and gets scrapped. I suppose we don't really, we're getting the concrete out. If this is lost, then it's lost. Moving across, we've got engines and electric engines, same deal again. It's a little bit more complicated here because when we scrap an engine, we don't get an engine. We haven't got the same opportunity here that we have with concrete to turn it into hazard concrete. And by turning it into hazard concrete, we just get concrete back again. Whereas when we scrap an engine, we get gears, pipes, and steel. So I have tried to filter that back into the system. Like we first filter off the quality, that goes off and whizzes its way to the rest of the quality factory. And I've tried to kind of feed the pipes and the gears and the steel back into the main bus that's feeding the factory. I'm a little bit worried by this because it's all a little bit too close. If something goes wrong, I don't really have an opportunity to fix things. But in principle, it should work. It's just, I don't know. When it comes to quality, one of the important things is buffering. And so when everything gets close in like this, we don't really get much opportunity to buffer things. But if we're constantly scrapping engines, then we should be constantly using pipes, gears and steel. And so that should create a deficit that we can feed into. That's the theory that I've used throughout all of this, to be honest. If it doesn't work, then we're in trouble. Now, what we have here is kind of where I've come to with low density structure and the scrappage of low density structure. I've tried a few different ways to do this, and I kind of think this is where I've come to. So, I mean, the simple fact is that there's enormous opportunity in the scrappage of low density structure. It produces copper, steel in a lot of quantity, and we can use that in our quality factory if it turns out to be of the right quality. But that is also a burden. Having too much of something when we're constantly recycling, constantly scrapping, that has the potential to jam up the factory. And that's generally what's happened when I've tried to do this kind of endeavor before, when I've tried to take quite a lot of low density structure and then try and scrap it and upcycle it. I've generally had, still not too much of a problem, but copper, if I go back to this original part of the factory, I am scrapping the iron and the steel on site by making it into boxes. I am scrapping the green circuit boards on site by scrapping it and taking that ingredient and feeding it back into the green circuit boards. Same with the blues and the reds. But I am not doing that with copper. We're going to put quality in copper and we're going to extract the quality that it produces, but I'm not going to try and upcycle it. I'm just going to take what it gives me. And the reason is because we can rely on low density structure for our quality copper. It doesn't need to come from those foundries. It comes from here. So the simple fact is, when we have iron and steel, we can make those into boxes and we can scrap those boxes. And a box takes multiple pieces of thing. A steel box takes 8 pieces of steel. So when we take a thing and turn it into a steel box, it reduces the amount of stuff we have to put on a belt. 8 times less, on a belt throughput. It's just much, much quicker, much, much easier. We don't have that opportunity with copper. The only real thing that we can use to upcycle copper is by turning it into copper cables. But we get twice the amount of copper cables of the copper that we put in. So in situations where I've tried this before, of rinsing and recycling the copper with copper cables, it just always bottlenecks somewhere. And once the copper cable's bottleneck, then it stops accepting new copper, and then once it stops accepting new copper, then it stops scrapping the low density structure, and the whole thing kind of breaks down. But I'm determined. I'm persevering with it, and this is my new setup. I'm going to throttle things. I'm not going to try and scrap every piece of low density structure that we make in here. This is probably about half the amount of recyclers that will scrap all of these machines. and I'm going to see if it can handle the outputs from what I've got here, and then if it can, then I'll start increasing the amount of low density structure that we scrap, because it is so damn useful, but it's only useful if it doesn't jam up. So I mean, the principle is that copper goes in, we make cables, anytime a copper cable is of a quality, then we take that and whisk it away into our quality factory. If it's not, then we scrap it. We take the outputs of that scrap, we sort it again. So if it's quality, we take that away, those copper plates, and if it's one dot, then we bring that all the way back to the beginning again, and it goes back into more copper cables, and it kind of goes round and round and round and round and round. Now, the real problem is that calculating capacity is difficult. I don't really know. I mean, there's probably a formula, a calculation to work out what the kind of the receding amount, the you know, because we're going to put a certain amount of material in, and we're going to scrap it, and we get a quarter of it back again. But we're not actually going to get a quarter of it back again, because we're going to times it by 1.5 by putting it into EM plants at the beginning. So we're only going to scrap. We're going to get back, 150. If we put in 100, we'll get back 150, and we'll scrap that and get 37. So it's 37.5%. It's 3/8 instead of a quarter. An extra 50% more things that we are making. But if I'm going to wash the copper, I mean, that's kind of how I'm terminating it in my head. If we're going to try and wash the copper, then this is the best way. It just happens to be potentially fraught with problems. The theory in principle is correct, and you know, ultimately, we are right down in the corner here. If I need to embiggen this a little bit, stretch it out, play with it to get it to work. I know we got some lava here, so it won't necessarily be perfectly square, but I've got room to maneuver in it. I mean, there's a good reason why I put it down here in the corner, so that I can mess with it if need be. But yeah, I got quite involved with the design of this. It's been on my mind for a long while. How do I want to upcycle low density? How do I actually achieve it? You know, because the potential is so great, it feels like it's something that I need to continually pursue, work on, because at some point I've got to get it right, surely. Anyway, carrying on. We have more of the rest of the useful things. So we've got batteries on the right. We're going to scrap those down here. Any iron or copper comes out, goes back in again. Same principle as the engines. I feel like this is just such a good solution to do it on site. We also have the gears, sticks, and pipes all in one place, because when we scrap all of these things, we get iron plate from all of these things. So all of these things kind of go to a recycler on their own to get recycled, and then once it's been recycled, it gets turned into iron boxes, and it kind of goes around a secondary loop. Not a second. Well, I suppose this isn't really a loop. So the iron gears come in, it turns into iron plates, that gets turned into boxes, everything gets turned into boxes, and then it kind of goes around here, round and round and round and round, until we get quality or it disappears. So I felt like this was a good place to kind of join these things together, because it's all iron plate really. And iron plate is pretty important. We do need a lot of it. It's nice to have more than we need. Yeah, an opportunity. All of this is good opportunity to upcycle it. And then we have our rocket silos. You know, I don't really know. This is probably not much to say with the rocket silos. They are here to do a job. A pretty simple job. And that's kind of the basic factory up to now. And potentially going, you know, the amount of quality that this should produce, even with relatively modest quality modules, should be freaking excellent. It should be. This is way more sophisticated than any of my other attempts. It's so good. Now, we haven't built the quality factory yet. And where and how that fits in with the rest of this map, I'm not 100% certain yet. I mean, I did originally want it in here, but that's been taken up by the factory that I actually need. So, I don't know. We'll figure that out later. Well, that's not really something I need to worry about right now. What we're going to do right now is Fulgora. And Fulgora, we're going to do everything all at once, to be honest. We're going to build a factory that does this. I mean, it is scrap. So it's probably going to be a much, much smaller You know, we're gonna, basically most of this we don't need to build on Fulgora. You know, to a certain extent, we just need a bunch of recyclers that processes scrap, and then we push it to something like this. But we're also going to be doing some multi-island quality thing, and that is not an insignificant amount of time. I know it's exciting. It means I get to get my spreadsheet out again. I like getting my spreadsheet. I like using those numbers. So yeah, that's it. We're going to call it a day. Next episode, Fulgora. A really quick thank you to all of my Patreons. You know, this episode's long enough. I've probably taken enough of your time today. So thank you guys, as always. If you want to join the club and chip in, here's the details. Other than that, see you later.